More news, non-quarterback news. Nick Bosa, D Ford, and Jalen Hurd not expected to start training camp on the PUP list, meaning I don't know how much they're going to play, but they should be in pads, participating like everyone else. What's your takeaway?
Yeah, no, this is huge news, especially the D Ford and Jalen Hurd news. Nick Bosa, we've kind of been hearing all along that he's going to be ready to go. But having D Ford and Jalen Hurd being able to come out and practice right away, that's huge news, because that those two, especially Ford and Hurd, they can totally shake up the way that this roster gets put together. And Ford in particular, I know we talked about this last week on our roundtable about Fred Warner talking about how he was looking good, and we kind of went back and forth on that a little bit. But it seems like everything he was on the right track with all that, and if they can get D Ford back, that defensive line jumps from what we were talking about, top 10 to top 5, top 3 in the league if he's healthy and able to go.
Is it fair for me to be a little to just say that like they better be healthy? I mean, Jalen Hurd got hurt a year ago. Bosa got hurt like 10 months ago. D Ford got hurt like 5 years ago, or I don't know. Like they've had a lot of time. So, it's good. That's good. But come on, they freaking should be on the field. My question with Ford and Hurd in particular is like, how many practices in a row can you do before you get hurt again? Because with Hurd, it's been like 10 or like, he didn't even get to the practice field last year. And Ford, will he practice at all? Basically, that's my question. Bosa should be out there. He should be Nick Bosa. I mean, he's done the ACL recovery before. It's nothing new to him.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a totally fair question, because that is the concern with all these guys, especially Ford and Hurd.
Yeah.
And from what I heard on the press conference is that Ford and all three of these guys aren't going to be practicing with the team. They're going to be going through individual drills for the first week, so that should help them out with as far as being able to stay healthy. So it's going to be with Ford and Hurd. It's going to be watching how they are once they get to practicing with the team and they start hitting. I think that's going to be the part to keep an eye on is how much activity are they getting as far as full contact.
That's what the Niners did last year with Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed was coming off did he miss a year or I don't? He's just been hurt forever.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, he just been hurt forever, and they brought him in, and they wanted to go easy on him. So even though he was healthy, he didn't do much the first week. He practiced, and I called him an elite stretcher. I was proud of that line. He was an elite stretcher the first week, and then he would get into individual stuff, one-on-one stuff, and then finally by the end, he got into full team drills. I would imagine that probably be the same progression for Jalen Hurd. I don't know if D Ford will ever practice again. Maybe it'll be the same progression for Nick Bosa, but for Jalen Hurd, I think he'll get the Jordan Reed treatment.
Yeah, whatever it takes to keep him out, keep him healthy and get him out there for a change. He looks when the one glimpse we got of him, whenever it was his first preseason game, looked good. He looked really good. He looked like a big Deebo Samuel, right?
Yeah,
he would kind of go all over the field but just at a much bigger size. And he's just been an enigma since he got out here. Everybody's wanting to see him play, but he hasn't been out there. So hopefully they'll be able to keep him healthy throughout training camp.
It'll be interesting to see what Jalen Hurd is after all this. I mean, torn ACL, a back issue. Is he still fast? How big is he? Is he a wide receiver? Matt Barrows asked a question today of George Kittle talking about Jalen Hurd potentially as a tight end. I remember when he got drafted, Kyle Shanahan said he really liked Jalen Hurd because he's the only player he'd ever evaluated who legitimately could have gotten drafted in the NFL at 3 different positions: running back, wide receiver, tight end. So they've already been thinking about him along those lines. They probably felt as a young man growing into his body, former running back, he wasn't really ready to be a tight end. He could end up playing that position for the 49ers, which would have kind of interesting ramifications for the rest of the roster.
I don't think they necessarily need to play him at tight end because they have other guys there this year. They did that with
damn right
with Reed last year, but they have Michael Pruitt, and they've got Charlie Warner in his second year. So I think they've got some other guys there, and obviously they've got Ross Dwelly.
Obviously,
yeah. I wanted to save the best.
I was like, yeah, okay, fair enough.
But definitely you can see. At least I would kind of see Hurd as in that same mold as Reed, though, as that kind of a move. What they expected Reed to be is that move tight end type of a player, big slot receiver. he lined up. I think if you go back to that preseason game, they had him out at wide receiver wide at one time, and he went up, for a fade
Yeah,
and caught it and stuff.
in
So
the end zone.
yeah, he's a guy that you can even bring into the backfield if you wanted to, but I don't think they're going to do that necessarily with him necessarily. But he's a guy that can be moved all over different places, and he's going to give linebackers a fits, especially if he's playing in the slot.
Certainly. Vince, again, thank you, Vince, says, did you notice John talked about soccer training staffs? Book it, they will hire a European soccer training staff next. Bye-bye NHL training staff. That's hilarious. They should probably go with a football training staff at some point. I don't know.
Well, that's where the man's ear for Trey Lance came from, was from the rugby and soccer players, right?
They're almost making the reporters wear the man's ear. We have to wear tracking devices at the facility now just to make sure, in case we contract COVID, like they'll do contact tracing. But I asked if it would also track our speed, our miles per hour, and they said no, which I think is crap. I want to know.